Welcome to another episode of Not Too Deep. I'm your host, Grace Helbig. Very excited to have Hayley Orrantia here. It's probably not the correct way to say her last name. She said it so perfectly on the podcast, and I should have been listening. Anyway, you'll hear it. You might know her from the Goldbergs, obviously, or you might know her as an upcoming country music star. We talk all about the music industry and her start in it and what country music actually is and what it means to other people. We also talk about the fact that she and her family might be coming to an HGTV-ish type of show near you. They flip homes, renovate homes. Her interior design knowledge is incredible. And so she's a little Joanna Gaines gaining momentum. We talk about everything. What else? Oh, and we give you guys some great advice on, just some really important life stuff, from breakups with no closure to wearing white Crocs in public. Don't forget, if you want to submit some of your questions to get answered by me and my guest, email us at nottodeepwithgracehelbig@gmail.com. In the meantime, enjoy this episode of Not Too Deep with Hayley Orrantia. I wish I knew how to say it. You'll hear it. Hayley, I am so excited that you are here. I have to talk to you about so many different things, so many different facets of your creative and artistic world. But one of the most burning questions I have is that in 2018, you were a guest diner on Hell's Kitchen. And I'm curious about that experience.
I love that you brought that up, because what a journey it was.
I mean, tell me everything. I am fascinated.
I don't even remember how. I want to say maybe it was through like a PR thing at the time where they were looking for people to come dine there. And I was like, yes, I love food. I would love to be there if someone gets yelled at, just a witness. So I ended up taking two of my girlfriends and we went to go dine in. And I don't know if it ruins the whole allure of what it looks like, but where we went was not a restaurant. It was almost like somewhere deep in Simi Valley, middle of nowhere, it felt like. What was a converted, maybe grocery store that just had like a set almost. But then they had the restaurant in it. So when you walk into the restaurant, you're like, this is nice.
Yeah.
But it was very weird. I thought we were going to be going to a proper restaurant.
Yeah.
But it was so fun. And the food was amazing.
Really? Okay.
Oh my God, incredible.
Great,
I'll never forget the flatbread.
You can't fake that, really.
No, that it really was good. And we weren't in a position where we couldn't actually hear or see the kitchen, which was disappointing to a degree.
Yeah, I just want to see if anyone gets bread slammed on the sides of their head.
Exactly. But the one other thing that was really funny, that it just plays into the whole, it's a TV show at the end of the day, is given the fact that we're there over the course of a few hours, the waiters are coming to obviously, feed you and give you anything you want to drink. But for continuity purposes, they have to keep your wine glass at the same height. So they warned us, they're like, just so you know, try to, remember that we're constantly filling it. We're like, yeah, okay. Did not remember that. So we were giggling. We were just we were wine drunk a little bit.
Oh, that's the best way. If you're going to be in a fake grocery store restaurant and you're not going to get to see the actual behind the scenes of Hell's Kitchen, you got to get wine drunk. That's the only opportunity to do that.
I mean, I don't know what they thought. We were 23, or 21 around there. Great. Free wine, keep it coming. And then 2 hours later, but great flatbread. I'll never forget it.
There you go. Now, Hayley, I want to know about your life. You have, like I said, a very multifaceted and diverse, creative landscape that you work in. And I'm so fascinated to hear how you got to where you are right now. Where did it started in music when you were younger?
Yes.
Okay. Talk me through that.
I started singing when I was 9, and it was just kind of along to the radio. And then a family friend was like, you got a voice, you should take lessons or something. And I'm 9. So I was like, okay,
let me consider it, and I'll come back when I'm done playing cash register and figure it out.
Literally. I'm like, okay, I'm not really sure what you want me to do with this. But it was kind of, to me, it was like if any other kid had picked up, soccer for the summer. For me, I went and worked on learning how to sing and play piano. And it was just became something I really fell in love with, even though I was terrified of going on stage at times.
Really?
But I just like did it anyway and fought through it. And I have so many like embarrassing moments that my family has, like of me singing at festivals where I'm just like, forget all the words.
Really?
I have a full blown panic attack at 12, but then you just, yeah. So I started singing, performing at festivals across Dallas, Fort Worth, where I'm from. And I was literally anywhere from 11 to 14 was like that time frame.
What's a festival like for people that aren't familiar with that world? And I know it's going to be very like, you know, from a teenager's point of view. Yeah. But what's that like for you?
You know, there was a wide range of festivals. Like the Dallas Fort Worth area puts on festivals, I feel like all the time. I was constantly doing stuff.
I would assume if there's a certain type of food that it'd be like, there's a festival for it now.
Oh yeah. And but it would also just be for the sake of having a festival. So there was the Pumpkin Patch Festival. Prime. That was probably my lowest audience. It was just my parents. So like,
a very engaged audience though. Yes, that's all you need.
My biggest fans were there. So it was fine. No, that like the Pumpkin Patch Festival speaks for itself, but it was very small. One of these suburbs of Dallas. And then there was like the Red, White, and Blues Festival, which was from my hometown, Highland Village, Texas, where they would get some pretty big musical names for like Texas country music to go and perform. And so when I was 14? I got to open. I think that it was either like Eli Young Band or so. I don't know if you know country music, right? But
I know very surface level all music. So I don't discriminate the music that I don't know anything about. I don't know anything about all music.
There you go. That's a good place to be at. But, but it was a pretty big band. And so for me, this was like one of the biggest things I'd ever did. And it's just people, going to food trucks or running around, kids. They had fireworks at the end. It's just very like community-based festivals. And I just grew up performing at those, which was fun, but I learned how to like deal with different malfunctions of being on stage at an early age.
Yeah. I mean, you're handling all these very adult feelings of like fear, anxiety, all of these, and performance, all of this stuff. Yeah. And so does this then take you to Los Angeles?
It's funny because it's to try to shorten the story as much as possible. I started doing music. And when I was 15, I had a manager who was based in Los Angeles who knew all the record labels from in Los Angeles as well as New York. So when I was 14 or 15 around there, I went and met with like Motown and Epic and and at the time,
and did you at this point did you want to do country music? That was like no. Okay.
Do you remember JoJo? She's made a comeback now.
Yes, I do remember. That's in my wheelhouse of growing up. Yeah.
I wanted to be JoJo so bad because I was like, I'm a few years younger than her. She would put her album out. She was like successful at like 14.
Yeah. So what is the song? Get Out
right now.
Right now. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And then Too Little, Too Late. Like but she has this like big voice and has this sort of soul R&B like in everything that she does. And that's what I grew up on. And so I wanted to do that, even though I do love pop music. So that's always like been influenced as well. And so that's when I met with record labels. And to make a long story short, they were supportive, but they didn't want to take on a 14-year-old who like doesn't know what is going on. So they recommended that I start taking acting classes and do the Disney thing. So like get a TV show and a record deal in one. And I'm like, I don't want to be an actress. I like had zero, like what?
Really?
Literally. And so I was like, okay, I'll figure it out then. So I went back home to Dallas, and it just so happens that in my hometown, there is an acting school called Catherine Sullivan's Acting for Film that pretty much every Disney Channel star that's ever like happened, like Selena, Demi, they all came out of that school because we all grew up in the same area, weirdly enough. So I took from that school, and I really kind of struggled, to be honest. Like I didn't understand the technique of like acting, and I wasn't someone that like out of all the other kids in class that they were like, you've got something special. So I was just like,
you've got to do your homework. Yeah. Work a little harder.
Okay. So I leave crying. I don't know if my acting coach knows that, but went on auditions, and it wasn't for a few more years. X Factor happened at one point, and then a year later, I kept auditioning and booked the Goldbergs, and then came out to LA. So I actually booked it when I was in Dallas still.
When you were still in Texas. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now you've been since 2013 or so?
Yep.
That's all. Yeah. You're going 8 years at this point, 9 years or something.
Yes.
That's wild. And so, I mean, I'm sure it's hard to encapsulate like what the experience has been like. But do you look back ever at 2013 self to now and let it sink in a little bit?
Yeah, all the time. I think it's funny because I have so many friends here that they do the same thing. They've been chasing this forever and doing acting. And we've seen some of our friends really change with whatever comes. And then everyone always tells me, they're like, you're literally the same person. Maybe to a bad point. Like maybe something should, I'm like a little too normal. I'm like, okay.
Should I have had some kind of major public breakdown? I don't know.
Which I did at one point, but it was anyway. I feel like for the most part, because of where I came from and how I grew up and how I fell into acting, and it wasn't like, I don't know, it just came about in a unique way. I feel like I am constantly in check with who I was growing up. And I'm learning and growing and knowing that that's going to keep happening till the day I die. And so I just am going to, thankfully I have a really great parents that really keep me grounded and help me through everything.
It seems like you are deeply connected to your family, so much so that there's a new revelation that's happening that I'm so fascinated by. So Deadline announced that you guys have signed on to do a home renovations reality show. That's so your family already does a home reno flipping kind of thing, and now you guys are developing that into a reality kind of. I don't know the right way to describe it without going HGTV show.
Yeah. So essentially that kind of idea, really. So my dad had been flipping houses ever since I was little. He's from Montana, so he has mostly properties there that he would work on. But my dad wouldn't flip them to be cute. He would flip them for financial reasons. And then, my mom.
That's the whole industry. It's so fascinating. It's so aspirational because you watch all these shows. At least I'm, a junkie of all these home and garden television shows. And so I'm I feel like I could do that, but I know I could not do that.
Well, that's the thing. It's at what level do you want to be super hands-on about it? And during this pandemic, I've seen so many people really DIY some stuff, which is awesome. But God, Home Depot's packed. You don't even want to go in there right now. It's a nightmare.
Everyone,
it's bad. It's a big Friday or Black Friday sale or whatever it's called. It's just crazy. But my dad's been flipping houses. And then as I want to say maybe 5 years ago, my mom got into real estate. And she'd never done that before. She had been involved as a consultant for years. And so she finally found something she loves. She's so
that's
good
sweet.
being a real estate agent. So she finds our houses, she sells that, that's the process she'll take on. My dad's the contractor. And in the last 4 years, I really fell in love with interior design and interior decorating.
I've seen your most recent spread in Home and Gardens UK. Your home is beyond gorgeous.
Thank you.
We're seeing a little bit of it here. I have so many questions about how to do plants because your home looks insanely riddled with beautiful plants. But so you have gotten into this with your parents now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So ever since I kind of was I really love decorating and designing, and I want to learn more about interior design. I was Dad, if I pop in on the family business, obviously you manage the budget, but I'll be there to be that makes more sense than that option. And, trying to make it look nice. I'm all about people should want to be able to move into a home and feel like it inspires them. And I feel in a lot of cases, especially if it's a renting out scenario, landlords don't know what they're doing. They don't care.
Yeah. No, they have no aesthetic sort of brain about anything. Yeah.
And I care a little too much. And I also know that I have plenty of friends that they have style in other aspects of their life, but they don't know where to start when it comes to their home. And when you give someone a foundation of something that's already got some cool elements to work with, I feel like that makes it easier for someone. So that's kind of where I jump in. But my family started this business, and we'll see if it ends up becoming a show.
This is so exciting. Have you guys decided as a family unit in working on the show how to cohesively work together? Are there rules? Are there guidelines or is it kind of unspoken and everyone sort of abides by the unspoken rules?
It's funny. It like working with my parents, because I've actually worked with them for a lot, like my whole life. My dad's managed me, like he's helped me through so much stuff and they're great at it. So in some ways we know the dynamics, but with this new like business venture, it is kind of different because
you're discovering some stuff you didn't know.
In a way I am the boss because I have like final say on like what fixtures and things we choose. But at the same time, my dad is because he's the one that's like, we got to stick with the budget.
Right.
My mom obviously has a say because it comes down to the things involving real estate and how we're going to sell and just all that plays into it. So in a way, we're all figuring it out together, which is fun.
That's sweet.
And we trust each other in what jobs we've taken on with this, you know?
That trust is, I would imagine, the most important piece of foundation for the whole thing. Do you guys watch HGTV shows to get inspiration? Has this been like a family thing you've done growing up? Or is it something that you've done that you've kind of been like, you guys got to watch this married couple and get some, tips on how to do this?
I remember growing up and my parents watched a lot of those shows, even before it was like cable television. They had those, oh my God, VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Were, I don't even remember what it was. It was some couple that was flipping houses and telling you how to do it. And like, they would watch those. So I think, and then the biggest thing was growing up, Extreme Home Makeover.
Oh yeah. Big time.
Coolest show for a kid. Like they would take your hobbies or your dreams and they would just like blow it up into your bedroom.
Throw it on your wall and make things that you couldn't even imagine could happen in the closet of your bedroom. Yeah. It's crazy.
So we watched that a lot growing up. And I want to say maybe my first inspiration without knowing that it was stemming from this to get into interior design was my parents watching those shows and being nice enough to be like, oh, you want to do music? You can't be in your room for like a month or two. And then we're going to like, when you come in, it's going to be like an extreme home makeover thing. So I walk in.
So sweet.
It was like they had built a stage in my bedroom with lights.
This is so cute.
Well, like, by the way, so spoiled, rotten.
I didn't want to say it, but
I'm an only child, if you can't tell.
Well, there you go. It's all good. They just supported your dreams and aspirations.
That's how I view it. But I think many other people will be like, you're spoiled rotten. Built a stage with lights and we had like a karaoke machine. So my friends would come over and we would just like sing karaoke on the stage. It was awesome.
Incredible.
I think that was like my first thing of like, oh, you can make a room really dope if you want to. Like just put a little elbow grease into it and it can like inspire a lot of things.
Well, you've also been, it looks like, working on your home that you're in. What's been that process for you? Do you do everything? Do you design everything in your home and kind of like make it happen? Or is it kind of like do you collaborate with other people?
I will say moving into this home specifically, which I did mid-pandemic, which was wild.
Perfect time.
Perfect timing. And so did that. But the previous owners did a great job of actually renovating the whole house for the most part. But there are aspects that I've definitely changed. I'm in the process of changing. So like maybe you saw in the Home and Gardens magazine, there are certain like installations of things that are collaborations with friends of mine. For example, Marston and Brunt Art Studio, which are some friends of mine that are in Venice, California. They do living walls, they do faux moss walls, they do murals. So I've worked with them a handful of times on my place here, and they've done some things that have just like made the space feel completely different than it was before. So things like that. And I will say, like, now that we've just wrapped season 8, I'm finally getting to like certain rooms that while the living space that you saw looks done and it is done, there's so many, like this room, I'm so not even ready to touch on yet. Like it's so many things.
The angle that you're showing looks impeccable. So,
and I totally here. It's going to be nice.
I get it. This looks very well done. Every other part of this room is a tragedy.
Is this in your house?
Yeah, this is my office space right now.
Amazing.
This is very gay paint. Highly recommend.
Wait. I think I've seen them.
They are incredible. I will recommend them till the day I die. They're absolutely fantastic if you need any sort of like retro, cool, modern mural stuff done. Yeah, really, really cool stuff.
Oh, I love that. See, that's the kind of stuff. It's like fun. Like no one does that. You know what I mean? And it's nice to be bold.
And to think outside the box. I mean, I gave them permission to think outside the box. I couldn't think of this, but God bless the people that are that creative.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, I have a bunch more questions for you. So we'll be right back with more Not Too Deep.
Not Too Deep with Grace Helbig.
Hello, listeners. Grace Helbig here, wanting to say two things. A big thank you for listening to the podcast. If you're a regular listener, if this is your first time listening, welcome and thank you. And second thing, if you are enjoying yourself here in this not too deep world we've built and you'd like to leave us a review, that would be so wonderful. If you can go to the iTunes store, the App Store, and leave us a lovely little review, comment. How are you feeling? Good, bad, otherwise? Maybe just good or otherwise would be appreciated. Other than that, enjoy the podcast. Okay, quick question. What's like a dream thing that you want in your home that may or may not happen?
A dream
if
thing.
There's something insane that, because I've always wanted a slide like inside my home somewhere. I mean, I live my childhood fantasy and I haven't gotten it yet, but I think one day I will eventually get there.
What's funny is like, well, actually I do have friends that have a fire pole thing.
Amazing.
Like it's a playground. It's great.
Yeah.
But one thing that it's not really in the home, but it's a part of the property. And I think this was inspired by COVID because at this point, I don't even want to have to go to a bar ever again. I just want to like have the bar be my house.
Yeah.
So
100%.
There's this long ass driveway by my, like alongside my house. And there's almost space that you like don't even know what to do with, but it wraps around to the backyard. So I was thinking if I like won $10 bajillion, I would buy an Airstream and like deck it out with like a patio around it with like 100%. A whole, you know what I mean? And just like 100%. The whole backyard would go from like cool patio with a TV, like trampoline type chilling, grassy, and then just like boho Airstream. Like,
amazing.
You know?
And everyone that goes there has to sign a waiver so they don't jump on the trampoline after going to the Airstream.
That's actually something I've been thinking about.
I feel like in general, like I also don't have things that are necessarily like booby traps for people, but I don't trust myself, let alone my other adult friends. So it's no like slight on them. I just want to make sure that
just like be careful.
Yeah. Be careful and also like sign this so that I don't have to be careful for you.
Legally, that'd be great. That's amazing. That's probably smart.
I think you could do that. I can also picture the Instagram already, picture the aesthetics of it. It sounds amazing. Okay, Hayley, I'm going to ask you the two questions that I ask every single guest that is on the podcast with me. The first is, who, alive or dead, would you most like to throw cold spaghetti at? Yeah.
Oh, now let me ask. I feel like people wouldn't enjoy that, right? Well, there might be some people.
This is entirely up to you.
Right.
This is a bit of a personal interpretation of what your intention would be in the throwing.
Right.
So you can throw it joyfully. You can throw it spitefully. You can throw it in any way that you choose at any person in which you...
spaghetti. You know,
also this is an answer that can change on a daily basis. This is just who in this moment right now comes to mind.
You get cut off in traffic and then it's that guy, you know?
Exactly.
I don't know why, but of course the first thing that comes to my mind is my like psychotic ex. I think he deserves a nice slap of cold spaghetti to the face, you know?
Is this the ex that the EP was dedicated to? Okay.
Yeah. I feel like I haven't ever gotten to like properly, I mean, I wrote about it in People magazine and wrote a whole EP about it, but I haven't gotten to like say to him how I feel, in which case cold spaghetti might be the key.
There you go.
That might be all that's left to be said.
A question about the EP. When you were writing this, obviously massively cathartic, I imagine. And now you're in another relationship. Is there worry in the new relationship that songs will be written about the new partner?
Yes, but hopefully not in a betrayal
Not in that way at all.
Like,
only in a loving, uplifting kind of celebratory way.
There is a song I'm working on because I want to put out a new EP in this year.
Okay.
And one of the songs I wrote a while back when we first started dating is a duet that I think I'm going to put on the EP, and it's called Where I'm At. And it's about like, because he kind of experienced trauma with ex as well. That was just like made it really hard for either of us to, even though we are like monogamous people and we love the idea of like love.
Yeah.
There's damage there. And so the song's kind of about like, you know, I obviously really like you, but I'm just like easing into it. And that's just where I'm at. And so there are songs that have been written about him, and there will be plenty more, I'm sure.
But that's super sweet to realize. I mean, like everyone comes into relationships with baggage, but to like check each other's luggage on the way in and be like, I got you. Don't worry. I came with too many bags too. I have to pay for,
$100 more here at American Airlines.
Exactly. On a slightly lighter note, the other question I ask every single guest that's on the podcast is to tell us your worst pants shitting story, or like a bathroom emergency scenario. But you can only use 3 words to describe the event, or 3 small phrases to describe the event. So to give you an example, mine is college jogging front lawn.
Oh, no.
I know.
I know.
Sorry. I'm sorry for that person's house. It wasn't my front lawn.
You know what's wild? I'll use 3 words, and then we can go further into the discussion.
Sure.
But I'm shocked to say it's never happened.
Wow.
I know.
Any bathroom emergency situation.
I mean, it's kind of what, because I've had this conversation with friends. And I ask this question. I probably know that about every friend because I'm curious, because I've heard so many stories, and I'm like, what's your story? And every person I know has one, and I never, I swear, like,
wow. I mean, I trust you. I fully trust you. I
don't know how.
I mean, you just, I think, are probably better in tune with your body than everyone else. I really think the actual, like, conclusion here is that people have these stories because they are in their heads and not their bodies a lot of the time.
In that case, I should have many times, but no. I mean, I've almost pissed myself plenty of times. Like there was, when you're in traffic, where I was in Hollywood or something, it was coming out of, where was I? Near Silver Lake, like right off the highway.
Yep. Like Silver Lake Boulevard, that whole overpass, it's so crowded.
And I was going to die, I felt like. So I just swerved around traffic and ran into a McDonald's.
There you go.
This was
so it has happened to you. So you have had bathroom emergencies before.
Yeah. But it's more peeing than I haven't ever knocked on wood.
I don't knock on all the wood, knock on your whole wood wall behind you. I don't wish that on you at all whatsoever. But please let us know if you want to do a follow-up podcast.
I'll tweet you, be like, boy, do I have a story for you.
Cannot wait. Okay. We now have like this kind of new section on our podcast that we're trying out, and it's called Hot or Deep. And it's basically, you get to choose whether you would like to answer a deep question that we have prepared for you, or give us your hot take on a topic that we have for you. So would you like to answer a deep question, or would you like to give us a hot take?
I'm probably better with the deep questions, but because I'm a little nervous about the hot take. But maybe that's where we go. Maybe we hot take it.
Go hot take? Okay. This is don't worry, it's not that hot. It's a bit mild.
Okay.
So in talking about music and country music, what are your thoughts when people say, I like all genres of music except country?
Oh, that happens so often. And
I imagine that happens. And so that's why I'm curious, for someone that like grew up in that world, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, and my boyfriend has said it. So, and you would think like, there's no way that's going to work, but it does. And I think it's because growing up, even being in Texas, I really didn't listen to an insane amount of country music. I grew up with like a lot more like big vocalists like Whitney, Celine, and R&B kind of stuff. So it was kind of transitioned at a later point in my life where I like listened to a lot of country, and I really appreciated like the storytelling aspects or how emotionally driven it can be. So with that being said, I do have plenty of friends in Los Angeles that still say that to this day to my face, knowing that I make country music. And I'm like, okay, and I think it's just because there's an idea of what country music is in some people's minds that didn't grow up with it, like whether it's super twangy or it's literally, and there's plenty of it, songs about the, sitting barefoot in my truck and wearing the Daisy Dukes and drinking a beer. Like it's like you can write it yourself at this point.
Sure.
But it's the similar thing to any other genre where it's like, I can look at rap music and say like, man, how many more songs do we need about a girl twerking? Like I've heard it. Like you can do it with really every genre.
I'm curious how, let's say hypothetically, an alien came down, had never heard of country music before. How would you describe that to that creature?
Oh, well, let's see. I mean, I would say
a creature that, by the way, has no bias, has no totally preconceived notions of it.
Okay. I would say country music, it really is about storytelling more so than almost any other genre. I feel like it, for me, when I write country music, it's very vulnerable and it's just straight up truth telling. And that's what I think allows it to connect and resonate with a large group of people. But just add a banjo in there and that's really all it is anymore.
I do feel like you can write a country song that can be malleable to be made into a pop song or to be made into like a heavy metal song. I mean, it's like, I feel like you could take 9 to 5 and put Van Halen on there and see what happens.
I feel like, that's a great point though, because there are aspects of country music that I'll be listening to, whether it's, take Dolly Parton's, I Will Always Love You. Yeah. Like people look at that and go, that's Whitney Houston's song. It's like, actually, if you do a little research, it's a Dolly Parton song. Or, I was talking about this with my boyfriend, Greg, the other day. We were naming all these songs that we were listening to. And we're like, did you know that's actually a cover of a country song from way back in the day? Like, wild. It's a root of a lot of other music. And I think nowadays country music top 100 isn't what I think my parents grew up knowing country music to be. There are still people that sing that classic like country western sound and hold true to that, but it really has changed a lot and has so many other influence of other genres in it that, I think it's ever changing. But at the end of the day, it's about, for me at least, it's about the lyrics and the story.
Cool. It also feels like a genre that has an opportunity to just like kind of reinvent itself again and again. Like you have aspects of it that are able to kind of like be influenced by different music genres and like still at the core be a country song. Yes. I don't know. That's me talking out my ass about all this.
No, it's completely accurate. That's completely accurate. And I think that's what, like now I wouldn't even be able to say, I can't say I'm strictly country music. I'm like country pop and influenced by other things. So I'm one of the problem children that they always talk about. But
I'm curious. Do you have a dream like collaboration?
Oh,
I'm sure you have a ton of them.
So many. In the country pop music world, I have always loved like Dan and Shay. They've done a really great job of their first album. I loved, and I had it on repeat. Their second album too. Like there's just, and I love Shay's voice. He's like the main singer, lead singer in that group. And just, they know how to write a song and they know how to sing it. And I would love to collaborate with them. But if you were to take myself outside of the country world, I have always been a massive fan of Sarah Bareilles because of her lyrics and her voice. And she's funny. So cool. Like she's just awesome. And now, did you see she has a show coming out that she's acting in?
No, I did not.
It's called Girl 5 Ever. And it's about a girl group that's like, maybe 10 or 15 years later after they've been considered like washed up or something. And they're
I'm literally writing this down.
Oh yeah. It's a comedy and I can't wait to see her in this. So, I'm a massive fan of hers. And so if I ever got to even just write with her or have coffee with her and talk about pooping our pants, I would do it.
See, this is a podcast meant for manifesting. So
Yes.
hopefully this happens down the line. Okay, we're going
Put
to
that
take
out there.
one last quick break. And when we get back, we have some viewer and listener submitted questions that they need some help on. So we'll be right back with more Not Too Deep.
Not too deep with Grace Helbig.
Okay, Hayley, let's get into some of these listener and viewer submitted questions. Again, just a caveat, we are not professionals and this is not professional advice. This is just our own musings on things that might be able to help you out in some capacity. So someone has written that in the post-pandemic world, when restaurants are a thing again, and I will once again be faced with the anxiety of having to order food at such an establishment, how do I quickly decide what I want to order so that I don't break out in a cold sweat thinking I'm wasting the server's time? Also, is there a way to detect the server before they ask if everything is okay, as my mouth is stuffed full of food?
I love this question because it is something I deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Because my boyfriend is so indecisive. We call it there's always two.
Okay.
Like, anytime we go anywhere in the history of time, it might even be food, just anything. It's, oh man, I'm looking at the duck as well as the tacos. And like, it's just two drastically different things.
Yeah.
He doesn't, it's always two. And he will always ask the server and the
What
server
they recommend.
their opinion. And he may or may not go with that.
Yeah.
And then the minute he makes the decision, they walk away and he goes, I should have gotten the other thing. And then I have to console him to be like, it's one meal. We're going to be okay.
Yeah. And so you're saying, so does he, when he's asking the server, it's just to hear like kind of a public opinion, but not to necessarily take that opinion, but only to sometimes maybe take that opinion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What
I
an
think it's
interesting
just-
resource.
I know. It's just like he'll ask other people at the table. Of course, he just wants help to make the decision because it is difficult for him. And then when everyone gives their opinions, he's still struggling up until the last moment. And then they'll walk away and he's still like upset over it. And then I'll eat it and he's fine. But like, oh God, every day.
Wow.
So
at
my
least,
advice
what's your advice on this then?
would be just go for it. I don't think the odds of you leaving that meal and immediately getting hit by a bus and like that having been your last meal, it's pretty slim.
There you go.
can, like, if you hate it, that was one crappy meal, like it doesn't have to be like the last thing ever. And also if it's a good thing or like a decent, even if it sucks, you can go back and try the other thing later. You know?
Yeah. Yes, 100%. I also feel like there is the social interaction provides its own anxiety on top of the anxiety of like making sure you're ordering food that you might like or something. I would say if you know where you're going to eat, start racking your brain a little bit. If you know that you're nervous, if you're a nervous orderer and you might be rattled by the social interaction of like a server, start thinking preemptively. It's not weird to do that. My friend Mamrie looks up literally menus for restaurants as soon as she's told that she's going there so that she can start figuring out exactly what she wants. So think about it preemptively. Get a game plan going for yourself.
That's fantastic. You know what I also do, but I feel like for people who already have anxiety about choosing, this might only amplify it. So maybe don't take this advice.
Okay.
But for me, it helps me quickly decide. When I get to the restaurant, I will look at the Yelp page and look at the photo. I'm like a visual person.
Yes.
So I have to see the photos, and I'm like, okay, breakfast burrito or omelet. I'm like, oh, for sure. It just helps me decide. Because when it gets to my table, I know exactly what I'm looking at.
Right. And then your expectations aren't disappointed because you imagine something completely different in your head.
Yeah.
And
unless the restaurant really threw me for a loop, and that was just not what it all was.
Also, 100%. And as being a server in the past, I can say that there's nothing but empathy of people ordering, that it's we just want you to get your order out. You don't have to make it perfect. You just have to do it. That's all.
So if in the context of being a server, standing there waiting, what is that like for you?
It is. Well, it's tough because if it is, I've been years out of waiting tables now, but I imagine the anxiety, like human just interaction is, timeless. I feel like there were a few different instances where it was one, either like obligatory, someone being a little bit of a, narcissist, for lack of a better word, like trying to be like, what do you think about this? And not seeing that the rest of the restaurant is incredibly busy. And also knowing that this person is never going to actually take they just want to speak and be kind of presentational about their whole order. Then there's the anxiety orders of people that just like feel very strange about the interaction between a server and them, and like or like children when parents are like, you have to order for yourself now, and kids are very. And then you see the adult versions of that, like they've never grown out of that way of ordering. So it's always like, I can't speak for every server. Everyone's different, but I'm always had been on the side of like, I get it. I'm anxious too, being the person that's coming here and doing stuff for you guys. I don't know you. So it's like, we're both in the same boat.
What's with us?
I know. Thank God I haven't had to do this for a year in this pandemic.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, it's so funny. Like people go out to eat every single day, and this is everyone experiences this all the time.
And like I'm so out of practice with this like over the last few year that I have my own anxiety about like, am I going to speak correctly to a server again? Like I don't want to be inappropriate, but I'm also out of practice with this.
Right? It's a weird, I've just now started going out to like eat. I did take a trip with my boyfriend recently to New York to finally see like his friends and family and stuff.
Nice.
And they are surprisingly more open than Los Angeles is. So I feel like we sat down a lot there, and it was just weird because we haven't done this in forever.
Right.
No one really and then they also still have their shields and everything too. So you're having to like yell at them to be like, I want the mac and cheese. Like,
it's all very strange. So you're like, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm trying to like still retain the rules of society right now. I'm so sorry.
It's hard.
Okay, here's another question that perhaps you kind of touched on a little bit. Cameron writes, how do you get over a breakup without closure? Is that possible?
It is. It's harder for sure. Because in my case, it wasn't just like, oh, you cheated on me. And like, which I say that even though that's devastating. I don't know why I said it like that. It's like, that's traumatizing for everyone that it happens to. But it wasn't just like as a simple, like this has happened before. It was way complicated with like, oh, he's stealing your money. And there's all these other weird things involved in his life that you didn't know about. Like he pretty much was lying about who he was. It was like a Dirty John. I couldn't watch that show because that like
too triggering. Yeah.
Essentially was my story, except no one, thank God, died at the end. So that's pretty much what it was. And
that makes you question your whole sense of like trust in people and character judgments and everything.
Everyone. I literally kicked out majority of the people in my life, whether it was right to or not. It's just because I had something about it that was like, I don't know if I trust you anymore.
Yeah, you have to heal yourself and figure yourself out. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, like the closure was especially weird because I couldn't like speak to all of those things because it was carrying over into other relationships and other aspects of my life, which was just unhealthy.
Yeah.
But as far as like just not getting proper closure, I mean, it's possible. It's just whether you have to find your way of therapy. So whether that's actually going to therapy, for me, it was a combination of that. My therapy's writing music. My therapy was also putting his ass on blast, which I totally did. Not everyone has to do that or needs to do that, but I also needed to do it on behalf of just needing him to know that he did me wrong and all the other women that he's done this to that never got a chance to do it.
Yeah.
But I also, did stand up for the first time to try to like laugh about it.
Really?
And not that the audience necessarily found all of these things to be funny, but I sure did. So I
feel like the unfortunate kind of like diagnosis for that is that it's on you to do all the work to get the closure that you need because you're never going to get it from this other person.
Yeah.
And so it's like reconciling the fact that like you're going to have to do a lot more work and this person fucking sucks and they've left me with all of this work to do for myself. But like if you can reconcile that it's up to you to do that shit to like get yourself recentered and refocused.
Absolutely. Because that's exactly what it is. You just have to, there's no like handbook for how you're going to get past it or how long it's going to take. And it's going to, like that kind of stuff, it really like shakes you up. And so a lot of changes have to be made, but it starts from where you feel like you want to go, and just like trust your gut more than anything is my like, key thing from coming out of that.
Do you do any like tarot cards? Do you do any like spiritual stuff to check in with yourself?
Yeah. So I don't actually know how to like read tarot cards or do tarot cards, but my aunt does. And so every time I see her, she'll do a little checkup with me, which is always awesome. I love it. She's super in tune with like the other side too. So like, it's pretty wild. But I'm very much a spiritual person. I got really into crystals and saging things and energy. And so I'm into that. And I feel that now. Like whenever I do have any sort of interaction that just makes me feel like a little icky, I will literally just sage myself or my house, my door, whatever. And even if it's just like is it psychosomatic? Is that what the word is? Where even if it's just that, like, fine. Like if it doesn't,
it works for me. That's all that needs to work for.
Yoga. I do a lot of yoga to like reconnect myself and things like that. So, just whatever works for you. Right.
Nice. Okay. Last question for you before we wrap up. Someone has a very serious question. I've been having trouble recently. It's extremely important to me. I've decided to purchase myself a pair of white Crocs. I was, however, told that this is my way of officially probing that I have no friends. I was wondering if you could give me some advice on whether you think it is socially acceptable for these Crocs to be worn with passion or frowned upon by society. Of course, some people are sensitive to this kind of subject, so I understand if this is too upsetting to talk about.
I love this person.
Yeah, same.
First of all, I struggle with white shoes.
I struggle with white clothing, white anything. I have white napkin, all of it.
Like, oh my God, the anxiety I have at a restaurant when I like, and it's dirty. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
I apologize. I'll wash it.
I felt so bad. Anyway, so white Crocs is another level, because I'm curious how you feel. I've never owned a pair of Crocs.
I just got my first pair.
What do we think?
They're yellow, bright yellow. They're like little duck feet, and they're my new house shoes. They're very fun, but I do feel like an actual cartoon character when I'm wearing them. I don't know that I will ever have the guts to wear them outside of my own home. But I feel like if anyone, even wants to, they should. I wouldn't see someone in a Target wearing Crocs and be like absolutely not. I'd be like, wow, that's incredible. That's inspiring.
Comfy. Yeah. Well, like my version of Crocs right now that I have is I got one of those, I don't know what the style's called, but they're like the slip on with thick straps. And
yes.
Same kind of material. And it took me a while to like go, can I wear these? Like, are these working for me? And at first they were just house shoes, and now I've worn them in public and I'm just owning it. Like it just is what it is. So that's as close as I can get to like, I will say with Crocs, I never thought they would take off to the degree they have taken off. They have the little pins that you can put to decorate them in the front.
Yeah, I forget what they're called, like dobbles or bobbles, something like that. My friend is obsessed with them, and I've gotten very, very into them. I always thought they were so silly. I thought that only chefs wore them in the kitchen, and now they've become actual like mainstream, like a normcore kind of like aesthetic for everyone. And I will say they are incredibly comfortable, but I do feel so silly wearing them all the time.
Do you know what they remind me of aesthetically, and why I think I've been so against them is because, do you remember in the 80s, what's the name of them? Those plastic shoes. They're like see-through.
Oh, jellies. Like jellies. Yeah. Oh, I had sparkle jellies. Yes. They are like, very similar.
Jellies, like those, I feel like were less comfortable because also you're seeing all of my feet if they're clear. It was just like very weird. I don't know.
It felt like you could see the suction of like your skin pushing against the plastic. Yeah.
And the sweat would accumulate. like my feet aren't even really that sweaty, but man, in Joe's, it was just like hot. Like right now, another like cute shoe that like women have been wearing, and I wore them one time, and I was like, never again. They're like those pointy high heels, and then you tip this like this, and just the tip of your shoe is clear. Which like I hate my toes, and so like
same. I do not take good care of my feet.
Why are we doing that?
I don't know why you'd want to have a window into the the most stressful part of the foot for women in shoes. I don't need to see behind the scenes. You can pull back that Oz curtain. I'm good.
And I wore them one time doing it, and they're really like in right now, I guess.
Really?
And I look and in as I don't really know crap about fashion, but like
same.
Plenty of people are wearing them, and you'll see by the end of the evening, just. It's like the inside of a car as though you've been making out.
It's just fogged all over.
Really cool. Ooh.
Oh, that's fun.
And that's how I think Crocs are good in that they're not see-through for the most part.
They're not see-through. Yeah. They will give your feet more room to breathe. I feel like they are a bit of the counter of that kind of shoe, that they do provide a hilarious amount of toe room, a comical duck foot amount of toe room for you. So I encourage you to venture out and try a pair. They're very fun.
Yeah. So you know what? Whoever wrote this, go rock your white Crocs until they're black, because you've been riding them around wherever
and
you're
also,
living.
They're plastic, so you can wash them. That's like the beauty of them, I think.
That's the thing. Can you wash shoes? Because I have
You won't know until you do it once.
You know what? After this phone call, I'm doing it. And I'm just like, hey, guess what? Didn't work.
If you try it one time, you'll find the answer to that.
All it takes. Just do that.
I love that. Hayley, we've reached the end of the podcast. This has been so fun. Before you go, we like to give our guests a little personalized horoscope from us to you that Melissa has just put in the chat. If you'd like to read yours out loud for everyone.
Be honored. Oh, I'm a Pisces. Oh,
I mean, we can only go by what the internet tells us.
That's true. Can you imagine? I'm like, I'm actually Sagittarius.
I know, waiting for that day to happen.
No. Okay, this is so exciting. What if this is horrible news? Okay, we'll see. Dear Pisces, fish of the stars, you may feel your priorities shift to matters of the home rather than work. Yes, but then you went and decided to make home renovations. Are you messing with me? Okay, wait. But then you went and decided to make home renovations a new work project. So now even the stars are confused. But boy, do those marble countertops look good. Okay, did you write this?
We might have had some influence on this horoscope for you. But
that's the thing about horoscopes is I will read them and I'm like, someone is watching me.
Oh, same. I will read the most completely universal thing and be like, that is just me. Isn't that just and only uniquely me?
Just a Pisces. Yeah, I'm so Pisces.
Hayley, where can people find you? Where can they get the potential future music or anything else that you're working on if they don't already know?
So I'm on all social media platforms under Hayley Orrantia. I know it's a weird spelling, but just you'll find it somewhere maybe. Or don't, I don't know. But I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but more importantly, TikTok, because that's where it's at. Really love TikTok. And then music, I'm on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, and it's just under my name as well, Hayley Orrantia.
Amazing. This has been so fun. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you. This is awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what kind of music you make, and I can't wait to see your Instagrams of your first pair of Crocs. It's going to be so exciting. You know what?
I will tweet at you and let you. Hey, I went ahead and got it with the little doohickeys on that.
Love it, love it, love it. And best of luck and fingers crossed that we get to see you and your family on TV soon, renovating homes and giving us all of the DIY intel that we all so desperately need.
Thank you. I hope so too.
Thank you, Hayley. And we'll see you guys next time on another episode of Not Too Deep. Goodbye.
Too deep, too deep, too deep. Not too deep with Grace Helbig.
Not Too Deep is a production of Grace Helbig Incorporated, producer Melissa D. Montz, edited by Shireen Lani Yunus, post-production sound by Chris Henry, and an extra special thanks to Flula for the theme music.